Kyoto, Japan, October 8, 1594. The sharp, smoky smell of burning wood fills the air, but there's something worse mixed in. Something that makes the crowd push in closer, even though they're horrified by what they're about to see. You're standing among them, peasants, merchants, warriors, and servants, all drawn by a terrible curiosity. At the center of the execution ground sits a massive iron cauldron, dark and open like a hungry mouth. Steam rises from it in eerie wisps, drifting up into the chilly autumn sky. The bubbling oil inside makes a steady hissing sound that seems to crawl into your bones. Nearby, assistants keep the fire blazing hot, tossing in fresh logs that send flames leaping higher. The firelight dances across the faces of the doomed deems. Two people kneel in front of the cauldron. One is a man with broad shoulders, dirty and drenched in sweat, even though he's tied up. Next to him is a small boy, no older than 7, shaking with fear so intense it feels like heat coming off his body. The man is Ishikawa Goemon. The boy is his son. In just a few moments, both will be lowered into the boiling oil. What you're about to witness will scar your memory forever. It's the kind of moment that turns a father's love into both sacrifice and rebellion, a final, unforgettable stand that would echo through history. But before you can truly grasp the meaning of this tragedy, you need to know who Goemon really was, how his life led to this moment. Step back into a time when Japan was torn by war, when honor meant everything, and legends were born from blood and fire. And if stories like this fascinate you, don't forget to hit like and subscribe for more forgotten truths from history. Japan, 1558. The country is drowning in blood. This is the Sengoku era, a time of constant war and chaos. Warlords battle each other for land, control, and the dream of uniting Japan under one rule. In the middle of this violence, a baby is born. He will one day be remembered as either Japan's most brilliant thief or its most cherished folk legend. Depending on who tells the story, they say his birth name was Sanada Kuranishin, born into a samurai family loyal to the Miyoshi clan in the Iga province. He could have lived a life of honor, serving his master and dying with dignity in battle. But fate had other ideas. Picture this: a 15-year-old boy standing frozen over the bodies of his parents, their blood soaking into the wooden floor of their home. That night, soldiers from the Ashikaga shogunate came without warning. They killed swiftly and left just as quickly. His father, Ishikawa Akashi, had been targeted not for any crime, but because he chose the wrong side in a never-ending political storm. Now the boy grips his father's sword, still warm with the blood of their killers, though the assassins have vanished back into the night, leaving silence and death behind. That night, Sanada Kuranishin dies. What's left behind is someone colder, angrier, and far more dangerous. He finds his way to Momochi Sandu, a feared ninja master of the Iga school. In the mountain hideouts of the ninja, where darkness becomes armor and silence is a weapon, the boy learns the secrets that will make his name legend. He trains in swordsmanship, stealth, infiltration, and the deadly art of assassination. Skills that turn ordinary men into shadows, ghosts who kill without being seen. But even in this deadly world, his heart betrays him. It's said he fell for one of his master's concubines, a woman whose name is lost to time, but whose beauty must have been unforgettable. When Momochi learns of the forbidden affair, there are only two options: death or exile. The boy chooses exile. But before he leaves, he steals something sacred, a sword of unmatched craftsmanship, glowing with an inner light. That blade will become both his weapon and his curse. It marks him forever as a new Conan, a runaway ninja, a traitor without clan or honor. From that moment, Sanada Kuranishin fades into legend, and a new name rises from the shadows: Ishikawa Goemon. To the rich, his name becomes a warning; to the poor, a prayer. The Kansai region in the late 1500s is a place of extremes. Wealth floods into the hands of merchants and warlords. Temples overflow with gold. The rich live like royalty, while farmers and beggars scrape by on crumbs. Amid this imbalance steps Goemon, a thief, yes, but one with a purpose. Picture a night in Osaka, 1580. The sky is dark, the stars hidden. A merchant's mansion lies quiet, its guards relaxed, never expecting danger. Inside, the merchant sleeps soundly, surrounded by luxury, dreaming of profit and power. He doesn't notice the figure slipping in through the window, silent as smoke. He only wakes when a blade touches his throat and sees, in the eyes above him, not greed, but righteous fury. "Your money or your life," Goemon whispers. But it's more than a threat. "This isn't just theft," he says. "It's justice." The gold the merchant hoarded, earned on the backs of poor laborers, will now be returned to those it was stolen from. At sunrise, the mansion's treasures are gone. And in the villages outside Osaka, strange gifts appear. A bag of rice at a widow's door. Silver coins placed in the hand of a crippled man, medicine for a sick child. Paid for with the merchant's own stamped gold. That's how legends are born, not in palaces, but in quiet moments of compassion. Goemon and his followers move like ghosts, striking at the corrupt and rich, giving to the desperate and forgotten. People begin to whisper his name with admiration. Here is someone who gets it, someone who sees their pain and fights for them, someone who's not afraid to challenge the powerful. Children grow up hearing tales of the thief who gave back to the people. Over time, Goemon becomes more than just a man. He becomes a symbol, a spirit of rebellion, a bringer of justice, a myth wrapped in steel and shadow. But as Goemon will soon realize, legends can be dangerous. They shine too brightly, drawing the eyes of those who want to keep their power unchallenged. Goemon gains fame in the shadows. Another man rises boldly in the daylight, Toyotomi Hideyoshi. Once a poor farmer's son, Hideyoshi fought his way up from the lowest ranks to become one of the most powerful leaders in Japan. Where Goemon relies on stealth, cleverness, and rebellion, Hideyoshi commands armies, makes alliances, and gathers power. One robs the rich to help the poor. The other takes from the land to feed his empire. They're two sides of the same coin, both born with nothing, both rising through sheer willpower, both followed by loyal men. But their destinies move in opposite directions, and that clash will prove deadly. Hideyoshi becomes the great unifier, the man who brings an end to the bloody Sengoku era and begins a new chapter in Japan's history. After the assassination of his master, Oda Nobunaga, in 1582, Hideyoshi either defeated or persuaded the warlords of Japan to submit. By the 1590s, he rules a unified country, finally bringing peace to a nation torn apart by decades of war. But Hideyoshi knows that peace needs more than just soldiers and victories. It needs control, total control. That means eliminating all threats, even those who hide in the shadows. To him, Goemon isn't just a thief. He's a symbol of chaos, a challenge to order, a dreamer who dares to believe that one man's conscience can defy the state. Their final confrontation doesn't begin with politics. It begins with heartbreak. Goemon's wife, Otaki, known for her beauty that rivaled the noble women of court, is taken by Hideyoshi's men. Some say she was executed as punishment for Goemon's crimes. Others believe she died protecting their son. Either way, what matters is the fury it awakens in Goemon. No longer satisfied with stealing from the rich, he now wants something far deeper: vengeance. Fushimi Castle, Kyoto, September 1594. The castle rises like a crown above the city, its white walls glowing under the moonlight. Inside, Hideyoshi sleeps peacefully, surrounded by heavy layers of protection meant to keep out even the boldest intruders. But Goemon is no ordinary man. He's trained for decades in the deadly arts of stealth and survival, taught by the legendary Momochi Sandu. Silently, he slips through the guards, the twisting hallways, and climbs the stairs toward Hideyoshi's private chamber. The room is surprisingly plain for someone so powerful. Hideyoshi sleeps on a simple futon, breathing slowly and deeply. Goemon stands over him for a moment, watching this small man who has bent an entire nation to his will. In sleep, he looks fragile, almost harmless, nothing like the ruler he is when awake. Goemon draws his sword, a weapon stolen long ago, now his trusted companion. The blade glows faintly in the moonlight. One clean strike, and it will all be over. Hideyoshi will die. Japan will be freed from his grip, and Otaki will be avenged. But just as he raises the sword, Goemon's foot nudges a small table. A bronze bell sitting on its edge topples and crashes to the floor, the sound like thunder in the stillness. Chaos erupts instantly. Guards pour in from every hidden corner, blades drawn and ready. Hideyoshi jumps up, wide-eyed but already thinking ahead. Within seconds, Goemon is trapped, his sword at the throat of a man he can no longer kill. So, Hideyoshi says, astonishingly calm, the infamous Ishikawa Goemon finally appears. I was wondering when you'd try. Goemon doesn't speak. There's nothing to say. He has failed, and failure now means more than death, means something far worse. His trial is little more than a formality. In the great hall of Fushimi Castle, Goemon stands with his hands tied, head held high. The room is filled with generals, nobles, and officials, all watching closely, knowing they're witnessing a moment that will be remembered. On his throne, Hideyoshi looks at the man who dared to assassinate him, and there's a flicker in his eyes, not hatred, but respect. Because this wasn't just any enemy, this was the one who almost succeeded where so many others had failed. Ishikawa Goemon, Hideyoshi declares, his voice echoing through the grand hall, silencing everyone inside. You are accused of theft, banditry, and attempting to assassinate the rightful ruler of Japan. How do you respond to these charges? Goemon doesn't plead or cower. He lifts his head and meets Hideyoshi's gaze with calm defiance. His voice rings out, not like that of a condemned man, but like someone who has lived and is now ready to die by his own beliefs. I am guilty of everything you said, he answers boldly. I stole from the wealthy to help the poor. I stood against a system that crushes the weak. And yes, I tried to kill you, because you're a tyrant who's forgotten that true power should protect the people, not rule over them. The court erupts in murmurs of disbelief. No one dares speak to Hideyoshi like this. No one challenges him so openly. But Goemon isn't finished. If these are crimes, he continues, then I'm proud to be guilty. If resisting injustice is treason, then I wear that label with honor. Do what you must, but others will rise after me. The poor will always need defenders, and tyrants will always spark rebellion. Hideyoshi's expression remains stone cold, but those who know him can see the rage simmering beneath. This isn't just defiance, it's a direct attack on everything he's built. Finally, he responds, his voice low and dangerous. You speak of justice, but justice cannot exist without order, and those who break the law must face the consequences. You've lived by the sword, Goemon. Now you'll die by it. Then comes the sentence, so brutal that even the most hardened courtiers gasp. Death by boiling, a punishment so rare and agonizing it's reserved for the worst of all crimes. But Hideyoshi isn't done. He leans forward and delivers the final blow. Since you call yourself a hero of the people, let's see how deep your love for them truly runs. Your son will die with you, slowly, painfully, so all who watch will know what it costs to defy the rightful order. For the first time, Goemon falters. His son, his innocent child, just a boy, condemned to die for his father's rebellion. Pain crosses his face like a knife. He is blameless, Goemon pleads, his voice cracking. Kill me if you must, but spare him. He's done nothing. Hideyoshi is unmoved. The child carries your blood. He bears your name and your defiance. Japan has no place for either of you. That night, in the cold silence of his prison cell, Goemon holds his son close. The boy, around 7, doesn't fully grasp what's coming, but he senses his father's sorrow. Papa, he whispers, are we going to die tomorrow? Goemon looks at his son, the child caught in a war he never chose. How do you explain to a 7-year-old that his life will end for a fight he never joined? After a pause, Goemon speaks softly. Yes, we are. The boy stays quiet for a while, trying to make sense of it. Then, in a voice barely above a whisper, he asks, will it hurt? Goemon shuts his eyes, trying to hold back the tears. Yes, he says gently, it will. The boy looks up. I'll be with you, Goemon promises. I'll hold you, and I won't let go, no matter what. That seems enough for the child. In his young mind, as long as his father is there, even death might be bearable. Goemon spends the rest of the night writing his death poem, a final act allowed to those facing execution. It's a reflection of everything he's lived for, and everything he's about to lose. You may boil a thief's body, but you'll never boil away his spirit. There will always be thieves, as long as there are rich and poor. His words are more than a farewell, they're a message. A reminder that the struggle between power and resistance, wealth and poverty, rulers and the ruled, will never truly end. Even in death, Goemon becomes a symbol, one that no fire, no punishment, can ever fully destroy. October 8, 1594, Nanzenji Temple, Kyoto. The sky is just starting to lighten, but the execution grounds are already filled with people. Peasants and traders, warriors and monks, all drawn by the morbid curiosity of seeing something they've only heard about in whispers. Death by boiling is so rare, so horrifying, that most of the crowd has never seen it before. In the middle of the cleared square stands a huge black cauldron, its surface gleaming dimly in the morning light. Steam curls up from within, carrying the sharp, greasy stench of burning oil. The fire beneath it has been raging since before sunrise, and the oil inside is now hot enough to kill instantly. Chained together, Ishikawa Goemon and his young son are brought forward. The boy clings tightly to his father's robes, eyes wide and fearful. The crowd leans in, caught between dread and fascination. Seated above them on a raised platform, Toyotomi Hideyoshi watches silently, his face unreadable as he prepares to witness the final moments of the man who once tried to assassinate him. The executioner, a grim man with years of experience, steps forward and calmly explains what will happen. Goemon and his son will be lowered into the oil feet first. There will be no quick death, only pain. Goemon listens, showing no fear, but his grip on his son's hand tightens. The boy stares up at him, terrified but trusting. Even in this horrific moment, he believes his father will keep him safe. Goemon leans down and whispers, "Remember what I told you. I won't let go." As guards move to separate them and bind the child for his own descent into the cauldron, Goemon acts. With chains still pulling at him, he summons every ounce of strength and lifts his son high above his head, away from the bubbling death below. The effort is superhuman. His body strains, shoulders trembling, but still he holds the boy above the rising steam. The crowd gasps. This isn't how an execution is supposed to go. Condemned men are expected to submit, but Goemon isn't submitting. He's making a final stand. "If you must take our lives," he shouts, voice ringing out across the hushed crowd, "then take mine first. Spare him the suffering." All eyes turn to Hideyoshi. This wasn't part of the plan, but his face remains cold. He gives the signal to continue. The chains begin to lower. Goemon's feet dip into the scorching oil, and instantly his body jerks in pain. Skin blisters and burns, but he doesn't drop his son. Link by link, the chain descends. The oil climbs past his knees, his waist, his chest, each inch more unbearable than the last. Yet his arms never falter. Around him, the silence deepens. Some in the crowd sob, others turn away. But none can deny what they're witnessing. A father's unbreakable love in the face of unimaginable agony. At last, as the oil creeps to Goemon's neck, his strength begins to fail. His arms tremble and the boy begins to slip. But Goemon doesn't let him fall. In one final act of mercy, he plunges the child into the oil himself, swiftly and fully, ending his son's life in an instant and sparing him a slower, more torturous death than even as his own body is being consumed by the heat. Goemon raises his son's lifeless body high once more, holding it above him like a flag of resistance. His body crumbles, his skin destroyed, but his grip never loosens. The last thing the crowd sees is Goemon's face, burned, dying, yet fiercely defiant. His eyes locked on Hideyoshi with such venomous intensity that many swore they felt the air grow colder. Then he disappears beneath the oil, taking his son with him. The execution is over. This brutal event was meant to be a warning. Hideyoshi wanted to show the world the terrible price of rebellion. But instead, the crowd saw something else entirely. A father's final act of courage, a love so deep it defied death. That image spread quickly, touching the hearts of common people across Japan. Rather than destroying Goemon's name, the execution transformed him from a feared outlaw into a legendary hero, one whose story would be passed down for generations. The story of Goemon spread across Japan like a spark catching dry grass, fast and unstoppable. But over time, it became more than just a story about one man. Goemon turned into a symbol of rebellion against tyranny, of love for his family, and of the timeless struggle between the powerful and the powerless. Even his final poem, secretly smuggled out from his prison cell, became a kind of anthem for the poor and forgotten. In the years that followed, Other thieves and rebels would take up his name, stealing from the rich to help the poor. Many were caught and executed, but the authorities couldn't stop the idea. No, Goemon had become larger than life, more powerful in death than he ever was in life. The giant iron pot he died in later came to be known as a Goemon burrow, a bath named after him. It was a grim but meaningful tribute, transforming the object of his suffering into a symbol of healing and renewal. Every time someone took a hot bath in one, they remembered the man who gave his life for justice. His story lived on through dramatic kabuki plays that drew huge crowds. Artists painted him as a legendary hero with superhuman strength. Writers turned his life into epic tales filled with wild adventures and impossible feats. But perhaps the strongest part of Goemon's legacy is the question his life left behind. In a world where wealth and power are held by a few, where the rich get richer while the poor suffer, what should we do? Do we quietly obey, or do we rise up in the name of justice? Goemon chose to rise up. He chose rebellion. And he paid the ultimate price. But in losing his life, he gained something that even the mighty Toyotomi Hideyoshi could never own: immortality in the hearts of the people. More than 400 years have passed since Goemon and his young son died in that boiling cauldron. The world today looks nothing like it did then. We have modern technology, democratic governments, and laws that claim to protect everyone. And yet the same deep unfairness still exists. The rich still thrive, while the poor struggle. Powerful people still escape punishment, while the weak suffer consequences for crimes they didn't commit. Oppression hasn't disappeared, it's just gotten better at hiding. And that's why the legend of Goemon still matters. It isn't just some tale from the past, it's a challenge to us, even now. He reminds us that sometimes the laws of a nation clash with what we know is morally right. That sometimes doing the right thing means risking everything we love. He also reminds us of the terrible cost of such courage. Goemon's rebellion took his life, his future, and even his son's innocent life. His child died not because of his own actions, but because of his father's fight. That final image, Goemon holding his son high above his head in the boiling pot, trying to save him even as death closed in, is one of the most powerful scenes in human history. It speaks of love, sacrifice, and the brutal price of standing up for what's right. It shows us both the strength and the sorrow of being human. So maybe Goemon's real legacy isn't just about stealing from the rich or fighting injustice. Maybe it's the reminder that there are some things in this world worth dying for, and that the most painful tragedies come when love and justice collide, when our desire to protect those we care about forces us into battles we may not survive. The man who died in boiling oil alongside his child became more than a rebel. He became a reflection of all of us. A question that every new generation must ask. When we see injustice, will we stay silent, or will we stand up? And if we stand, are we ready to face the cost? The iron cauldron is cold now, but the fire that burned in Goemon's heart still flickers. It's waiting for the next soul brave or desperate enough to carry his torch. And in the stillness of the night, when the world sleeps, and injustice hides in silence, some say you can still hear the echo of a father's love, bold, undying, and eternal.